American Hour. I'm your host. I am Clay Douglas. And my guest today is David Kaas, the author of Farm Physics. And for you folks that have asked about it up on YouTube and all that, the reason I drink my coffee like this in the morning is I am doing something very simple that affects the liquid in my coffee cup here. It makes it taste better. I feel like it keeps me young. It keeps me in good health. I am cancer free, and I it was in Venice, California, that David Kaas taught me how to do this. He has the book Farm Physics that is up. You can see a price on it up on my website, freeamerican.com, and we'll put links up. You can get his. You can call me and order the book, and I'll see that you get it. David, thank you for helping restore my health. I believe.
Well, Clayton, I'm glad to help you and everyone else in the world as soon as they start to do it for themselves. It's such a simple technique that makes such a world of difference at our age.
Well, it does. And you also wanted to run for president, and perhaps you did, but the problem that we have for making change in this country is that we have basically been taken over. And let me rant on this for a moment, Dave, and kind of set the picture for what we want to do. Actually, before I do that, let me you and I are communicating through Facebook, and you just sent me something I found very interesting. Basically, adapting and using Tesla technology, first time in 100 years that this has been around. A college in California has built an electric bus. An electric bus. Now, this is a pretty big vehicle, folks. It's a bus. It's powered by electricity, and it's wireless. It's wireless. They are transmitting the power to it, and I'm not sure how they're doing it. Did you see? I didn't get the chance to look at this totally, David. You sent it to me. Tell me about it.
What they have is a bus that they figured out that you can't charge up a vehicle and have it run for 24 hours, right?
Right.
So what they have is they have the bus stop where they pick up the customers at that has a rechargeable unit sitting at the bus stop that it shoots the electric charge 10 inches so it doesn't even touch the vehicle, but it recharges the bus when it stops to pick up the customers at a few of these bus stops. So that's how they keep these electric buses running now, and they can run indefinitely on this recharge system that's located at the different bus stops. And like I said, it's 10 inches, but there's no wires attached, and it's incredible. It's Tesla technology, right?
If we hadn't, let me try to point this out to people. If we hadn't been taken over by the financial powers, by the banksters over 100 years ago, we could be running like that right now. They could have, at every red light, they could have these grids.
Well, what's this point is just an example for all of us to see just what can be done using this electrical energy. I mean, to run our vehicles, to make our lives easy, to grow our crops. Everything can be done with electrical consideration, and make so much easier and look better. But this is just the first of a few different examples around this, but this is really a big one. You can get on a bus and ride to work and back, and school and back, and everywhere around that town. So it's pretty good breakthrough.
Now, folks, folks, the reason this has happened, the reason we've developed this way, is that somebody found a use for that ugly, slimy substance we call oil, and found that they could control it. So they destroyed all the alternatives. They destroyed marijuana crop. They destroyed the electric motors, and they destroyed Tesla. And this was done because basically Tesla invented this wireless transmission of electricity that the school in California has now demonstrated. Which school is that, David?
I'm not. It was a Utah University.
Utah, okay, that's right.
Developed it, but I'm not exactly sure.
And they did it in with the Utah Transit Authority in Utah. It's Utah State University.
Right.
And the reason this didn't happen 100 years ago, I just went to a Tesla convention over in Albuquerque last year, and nobody had any demonstrable Tesla information there. No magnetic motors, none of the things that we know are possible and have been invented and have been used in different areas. None of this is happening because J.P. Morgan, in conjunction with the Rothschilds, said, "Hey, we can't have this. We're been planned, folks. The depressions are planned by these banksters, by these criminals.
Right.
And now let me give you something here, David, and then we can are Americans practicing communism? I have made the statement that I volunteered to go to Vietnam to fight communists, and when I got out of the army, before I went to Vietnam, fortunately, I realized, I found out that every plank on the Communist Manifesto is intact in America today. Now, I've got that up, linked on the website, right under your shows, Are Americans Practicing Communism? Now, Karl Marx describes in his Communist Manifesto the 10 steps necessary to destroy a free enterprise system and replace it with a system of omnipotent government power so as to effect a communist socialist state. These 10 steps are known as the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. The following brief presents the original 10 planks within the Communist Manifesto, written by Karl Marx in 1848, along with the American adopted counterpart for each of these planks. From comparison, it's clear most Americans have been by myths, frauds, and deception under the color of the law by their own politicians in both the Republican and Democratic parties have been transformed into communists. Now, Marx is creating the Communist Manifesto in creating the Communist Manifesto, designed these planks as a test to determine whether a society has been communist or not. If they are all in effect enforced, then the people are practicing communism. And remember that Rabbi Weiss referred to the fact some people call it communism, we call it Judaism for the masses. And folks, the protocols of the elders of Zion, which you're not supposed to read because all of your press is controlled by communists. And Rabbi Weiss told us, again, linked on my website, some people call it communism, I call it Judaism for the masses. Now here are the 10 planks stated in the Communist Manifesto. And David, feel free to comment here. You're my guest today. Feel free to comment on any one of these. If I get it wrong, folks. If, you know, maybe, well, let's see. Plank number one is abolition of private property and the application of all rents of land to public purposes. Oh!
That don't sound good to me.
Americans do this with actions such as the 14th Amendment of the Constitution and various zoning, school, and property taxes. Also, the Bureau of Land Management. Zoning laws are the first step to government property ownership. That's what they tried to do to me in New Mexico. We're going to zone your farms and ranches. No, you're not. If you zone that, you're going to get somebody killed. No, you're not. And it didn't happen. Second, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. This is a misapplication of the 16th Amendment of the United States Constitution. On the day the banksters took over, on the year the banksters took over, the 1913 and the Social Security Act 1936, it's called various state income taxes. We call it paying your fair share. Number 3, abolition of all rights of inheritance. That's Americans call it the federal estate tax, or probate laws, limited inheritance via arbitrary inheritance tax statutes. The confiscation of all the property of all immigrants and rebels. Americans call it government seizures, tax liens, public law 99-570, executive order 11490, section 1205, 1202, which gives private land to the Department of Urban Development, the imprisonment of terrorists of those who speak out or write against the government. That's the 1997 Crime Terrorist Bill, or the IRS confiscation of property without due process. Asset forfeiture laws are used by the DEA, IRS, and ATF. Number 4, folks, that's happening right now. 5, the centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank. Well, we call it the Federal Reserve System. Centralization of the means of communication in the hands of the state. It's the FCC, DOT, mandated through the ICC Act of 1887, Interstate Commerce Section 18, 1938. It's all happening here. You don't have to have a driver's license if you're not in commercial traffic, but they tricked you just like they have with it. Oh, we'll keep all your information on your Social Security card private. And number 7, the extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state. Well, can you, Americans call it corporate capacity. We've got Department of Agriculture, the IRS, control of business through corporate regulations. And number 8, equal liability of all labor, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Americans call it the minimum wage slave labor, like being dealing with our most favorite trading partner, communist China. And number 9, the combination of agriculture and manufacturing industries, gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country, a more equitable distribution of population over the country. And this is Archer Daniels, Medellin, super corporate farms, Monsanto. And number 10, free education for all children in public schools, abolition of children, factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. You are being taxed to support what we call public fool system, but are also actually government force tax funded schools. Even private schools are government regulated, except for the Little Red Schoolhouse and Timothy Bible College. So do changing words change the end result? By using different words, is it all of a sudden okay to ignore or violate the provisions or intent of the Constitution of the United States of America? These politicians who believe in the socialist and communistic concepts, especially those who pass more and more laws implementing these slavery ideas, are traitors to their office and to the Constitution of the United States. Know your enemy. Remove the enemy from within. And actually, folks, this goes back over 200 years, because this communist plan was taken by Karl Marx, a Jew, from the protocols of the elders of Zion. It's all documented. This is how we're going to do it. This is how they are doing it. This is how they did it. David, would you care to comment? I'm almost through with my rant here.
You actually laid it out real plain and clear, Clayton, to all the listeners out there, exactly what is happening to them right at this moment in time. And it seems to me, because I'm 56 years of age, and I come from the farm in Iowa, that, if we want to jumpstart or restart our economic engine here in this country, we have to get our act together politically and socially speaking, and this will, like I said, affect our economics and everything else and everybody else in the world eventually. But it's going to be a choice, and everybody's going to have to make it. And I thought it was going to be in this last election just a few days ago, but it wasn't. And so I guess I'm kind of going to have to throw my hat in the arena once again in this next election in less than 4 years, and try again. As many of the independent candidates have done for all of time here. I know there's several people that are still running, and my hat's off to them as well.
Yeah.
But
David, I pointed out to people over the years that there has never been a time in history when it was easy to be free.
Oh, exactly. But the nice thing about this last election is there was a party called nationofchange.org is their website, and they had they were registered in the Electoral College, and they left their ticket open. Open meaning that they did not name the candidate, so any candidate that wanted to run on their ticket could, and that's what I did. I selected Jeffrey Ventura, even though I didn't speak with him on the phone. I shared 2 of my books with him and a lengthy letter of invite a couple of years prior to the election. So I was able to walk the walk and talk the talk on the Nation of Change ticket, and I'd like to thank them for all their work and diligence in this last election, even though they weren't able to put their candidate, whoever it might have been, into office. I did enjoy running on their ticket. So thank you, Nation of Change, for all you did. But this next election, I think it's going to be a different one than this one was, because I think the information has gotten to the voting constituents, that being the 19 to 32-year-old age group, Clayton. Those are the ones that are going to make the difference for us if the difference is going to be made.
Well, it's not going to be into the 2 parties. The 2 parties are divided up into the Communist Party and the Fascist Party. The Fascist Party, and there is no difference, folks. This is all misdirection. Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, It's all misdirection because they control both sides with their media. That's why what we are doing today, right now, today, is the most important thing that you can do. Is to disseminate information. I've read the Communist Manifesto to you. You know you're being poisoned. You can see them there's 10,000 aircraft in the air spraying this country. They're spraying every country in the world because it's a war crime for them not to do it. They have these elitists, the ones that built the underground shelters to protect themselves for what could be and what they may know is coming. That could be an asteroid, it could be a comet, it could be a planet X, it could be just the sun, just a sunspot putting out a field that would kill everything that we built our whole society around.
Any day, Clayton, anything could happen to this entire planet, or it could happen to any one of us. So, I've never in my life really cared too much about the day I die. I'm always getting up every morning and thinking about all the things I got to do and all the things I want to accomplish. But, life for myself has always been like that, and I've never had a lot, but I've had enough. So I've always been pretty happy, and I've always wanted to get more. You know how it is. The more you get, the more you want. But at this age, like as I was saying, my most recent discovery, which I've written down in the book Farm Physics and New Cure, which is available through Amazon and PublishAmerica.com, the discovery that I've made concerning the molecular spin of the fluids we drink each day has given me this new life and new energy that I'm really kind of amazed at the age I'm at. But I'd like to ask all the listeners today to pull up the YouTube as soon as the show's over and listen to the video entitled A New Cure for Cancer and Everything Else. Because within this video, it'll teach you how to apply this new molecular self-spun fluid concept to your glass of fluid right now.
Let me stress something else. Let me just interrupt you here for a second. I think that's a good idea. Because, I came up with the idea of Liberty Villages many years ago when I had 5 acres. And I planned it for that. I wanted to do 5 acres with teepees or yurts or cabins so people could live together in a small, tight-knit community. Based on the foundation of every civilization, folks. That's the self-sufficient family farm. I reasoned that if we could generate our own electricity and grow our own food, we didn't really need the government. If we kicked out the zoning and the neighborhood association, and we didn't need the government for anything, or for very, very little, except to do what they're supposed to do, and that's guard our borders. We have been taken over by communists. They've had a plan for 200 years. Since we broke away from England, they have had their financial fingers on our pulse and around, and their hands around our necks. Now on the chat room, they're talking about we're being balkanized. Well, guess what, folks? That's the way we started with the Confederation. With the 13 states. Those 13 states are small countries, and Texas, where I'm at right now, is a whole nother country. We don't have to ask permission to secede. We can just do it. We got over 100,000 people that signed a petition saying we want our independence. The other states don't have to. They can remain part of the Confederation. We can restore this country to the way it was because, folks, they don't have the power they want you to believe that they have. They want you to believe they're omnipotent, and they're not. You can take back this country in small areas, block by block. If you turn your backyard into a garden, my neighbor next door is growing tomatoes and watermelons. You know, my neighbors on the other side have got chickens, so we can get eggs anytime we want. And the neighbor over there has enough arms for the whole neighborhood if we have to defend it or protect it from UN troops. Now, will the militia is you, ladies and gentlemen. Every acting man, every acting. Go ahead. Go ahead, David.
Well, you're saying, Clayton, we've got to take the power, and the power being that the power to exist, back into our own hands. And you're right, we've got to start setting up these small agricultural gardens all across the country and all across the areas. But we also have to learn to work together. See, what the problem is nowadays with the communications and everything is they segregated us in our minds. They've got different religious groups, they've got different political groups, they've got different colored groups, they've got different athletic groups. All these things are dividing us.
Divide and conquer is the oldest maxim in warfare. Go back about 4,000 years to Sun Tzu in China. Now, Big Cal on the internet is interjecting. Clay, when half the country's on welfare or on the government dole, it's hard to take back the country with common sense. That's true. That's true. You have to do it locally. You have to start telling people, you know what? We found out that Clay Douglas isn't crazy. No, I don't want a civil war, you strange fucker. I don't want a civil war. I want to prevent a civil war because that's what the government wants. That's what the government wants.
War is bad. War is not good. War is bad.
Now, let me tell you, it's been, again, I've told you folks, that the government doesn't have the power they want you to think. Now, they got all the gadgets. They got the little helicopters that can fly in your windows. You know, they got the little bugs. They've got everything. Show your colors. What is a red, white, and blue, you dumb motherfucker?
Clinton, you know what? I think all we would need is our military allegiance. The military of the United States, if it would wake up and those leaders would use their heads, we could get out of this right away. Again, our own military. But if the military is doing what the bad guys say at the moment, our supposed leaders, our Congress, our president, and that's the problem. They're being led by the wrong thinking. If we could get our military leaders, and I don't know if Drake or if any of these other people are really connected to the military or not, but that's one key issue that I've been considering is if we get the military and if we get the young voters, we would landslide this whole country because the military can do a lot. We can be thinking that we can't even imagine that it's a united type of a force.
All right, I am recording. This is the second half of the Free American Hour for Thursday, December 6th. Tomorrow, by the way, we'll have the Truth Seekers meeting, and I'll have watch for my website. I'll have it up there. We got a different meeting place for the month of December. So,
well, I wanted to thank you, Clayton, for having Dr. Carter on the other day. I listened to that show, and I posted her an email, and she returned my posting with a phone call that afternoon. So I sent her a book, and she is a remarkable woman. She's been through some absolute hell in her life, and she's still kicking, and that's what's amazing about it. She's our age, and she's a real fighter. So I want to thank you for introducing her to me on your Blog Talk Radio program.
I enjoy having her. I had Kaminsky on yesterday, and I recommend everybody Look, folks, if you know, Voltaire told us 200 years ago, you can identify who your rulers are by who you are not allowed to criticize. That is the Jews that control it. The Jews that wrote, their elders that wrote the protocols of the elders of Zion. It's the people behind your churches. Anybody that's telling you, oh, you're supposed to be a Judeo-Christian is flat
It's what
insane.
you know, Clayton, it's what the best word for those individuals is the controllers. Because they might be known as Jews or Zionists or Illuminati or whatever you want to call them, because there's other people around that aren't one of those, that they go by that name. But those people are the controllers, the economic controllers. Those are the ones, and there's only a few of them, that we're all after. We like to string them all up or dump them in the ocean, one of the two. But they're the economic controllers, and there's only a few of them. And those are the suckers that are going to be getting it, too.
Well, they are, and these are the administrators. They've turned us into a police state because you can't go out and get a job. You can't get a job. They've run the illegals in here to take all the lower paying jobs. And
What would have been if they put this economic scare into the ones that are holding the job and the ones that give the job. You know, they put an economic scare into them that they will lose their job. So that's why these people are so harsh and so angry all the time at work, because they have to keep everybody in line, and otherwise they'll get fired. You know, so it's like scare tactics.
It's the bankers that are behind this. They hire the Jews because the Jews don't have any qualms about usury.
Right.
And the Christians, and both the Christian and the Muslim faith, before it was co-opted and taken over by these sons of Satan, the members of the synagogue of Satan that Jesus told you 2,000 years ago about, that are on the cover of my book, Mystery Babylon. And folks, it's right there. I mean, all of the information is there. The history of the Rothschild. They've killed our presidents. They killed the leaders that stood against them. That's what Hitler was about. That's why Hitler is still badmouthed today, because he told you who was doing it, and he organized the German people to resist it. And so they had to bring in 3 Jewish-controlled communist countries to destroy Germany. That was America, England, and Britain. I mean, you don't know. I got all these assholes up here calling me a Nazi. Oh, they call you Nazi American on this site. If as soon as they say Nazi, you know that they're nothing but a Jewish troll, a Jewish Sanayan that is being paid to come in and try to make patriots look bad, trying to make us look like radicals, trying to make us look like we're crazy, trying to make us into criminals. Ayn Rand had it absolutely right. She came from a communist country. She said the government has no power over honest citizens, so they have to turn us into criminals. They have to make us into criminals. Oh, you didn't pay your taxes. Oh, you went against the bank. Whoa, you want to issue your own money? Whoa!
Greg, you had an opportunity to read through my proposals for the 2012 election, and one of my key proposal points would be, if I was elected, to release all prisoners from jails and prisons if they had not, done any crimes that are considered a felony, such as murder or rape or incest. And those individuals I'd have put to sleep. So we would and
by the way, listen, as far as I'm concerned, David, let me interrupt you right now. If the first thing that we need to do, and I wrote about this 45 years ago, folks, 45 years ago, I said what we need to do is abolish all the laws against victimless crime. Prostitution, drugs, whatever. But if you haven't hurt nobody else, go sit over in that corner there and kill yourself if you want to. And if you've raped, if you've robbed, then you just need to be hung. You just need to be executed quickly and efficiently after a fair trial. But we don't need to pay prison guards to keep you fed and keep you in prison for 40 years. For 40 years for a joint in your pocket. That's slavery, folks. And if a man can walk up to you with a badge and say, "What's that I smell? Is that marijuana? Is that marijuana? Oh boy, you can get life for that in this state. You can get life for that. Now, we can get you 7 years right now if you take the deal. If you go for a jury, they don't like your looks. I mean, the DA don't like you much, and they can make it really rough on you. You can get 7 years. And so I wrote my first book about abolishing the laws against victimless crimes, which is what Ron Paul suggests, what Governor Gary Johnson suggests, who ran for president. It's what they suggest. It's what I wrote about. And that's right, 10 years in jail for picking weed. I got 7. I did a year and a half on that, folks.
Yeah. Well, Clay, another point of my proposals is, like I said, I'd let them all out of jail, but I'd also restore all their rights to vote. I don't see how a person can live in this country and have his rights to vote taken away from him. That's supposed to be one of the premises of a republic, where every citizen has that right to vote in an election. So I would restore all the privileges to all of our prisoners, and you would be one of the first to cast your vote.
I was going to do that. So I applied for it with the BATF, but it turns out that department has been defunded.
Compromise is what I call it.
All right, now let me share this with you, if I can do this here. Their annual deaths here. I got this up on the screen. Tobacco kills 400 and I think that's 35,000 people. And let me hang on just a minute. Let me get this. Up.
So they usually tell us how many have died from something, but our entire medical industry is killing us off in hand with the pharmaceutical drug dealers. Those two industries are killing us off faster than all the cigarettes, all the alcohol, all the anything. Our own medical and pharmaceutical industries are. So that's the truth of the matter.
That's right. And by the way, peanuts have killed more people than marijuana.
I believe it. I don't think marijuana's killed one single person ever.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't.
Never, ever.
100 people. 100.
They used to hang a lot of the bastards by hemp-made rope too in the old days, and from the highest tree with that hemp-made rope.
Peanuts.
Those bastards don't like hemp at all.
Peanuts have killed more people than peanuts kill 100 people a year. Aspirin kills 7,600 a year, and murder in this country is running at 20,000. But prescription drugs has killed 32,000 people a year, folks. This is where the bad stuff is. Now,
well, the way people, when you get a certain age, if you can afford it, if you've got an insurance policy or whatever, they put you in one of these rest homes, one of these retirement homes, they call them, or facilities. And there, they begin to inject you and give you pills which will going to kill you. And it's no joke, right? My wife works in one of these facilities, and she is just appalled, comes home and cries in my arms at night because of the treatment and the condition of the patients at these rest homes. So that's another big ripple that needs to be blown.
It's part of the drugging. They put them in there and they drug them to keep them quiet. They drug them just like they drugged me, just like they're drugging Mark Taylor. It is still happening here, folks.
It's amazing, Clayton, how few people actually work at these facilities, but how many thousands of elderly people are brought in the front door and taken out dead out the back door. It's just amazing every day how these facilities work. It's just worse than a meat packing plant. You know, they cut up cows. It's terrible.
All right. Okay, let me.
So I wanted to comment too about your few group of babbling idiots out there, like the famous Rabbi Ted, who is not a rabbi at all, and these are just clowns that are trying to get under your collar and try to get under whoever's collar. That wants to talk intelligent and cares for the plight of all humanity at the moment. Black, white, yellow, red, whatever color you may be, we're all human. We all have red blood, and we all can consider each other. So let's do it at the moment and consider that we all come from the same family, the same mode, so to speak, of humanity. We're on the same planet together. Come on, we've got to get along. So the whole issue of wars and conflict is really opened my eyes to the problem. And that is not the big one, it's the small one, the very smallest of all. Those are the economic controllers. So at the moment, we've got to get ourselves out of this predicament we're in, and the only way to do that is through an election of a new party and a new power to rid us of these shackles that have been put on us.
I don't know. I think the idea of putting 1 million people in the streets of Washington, D.C. and using them to arrest the congressmen and the banksters is what we should do. Now, let me tell you that Iceland's president explains how his country recovered so quickly from the recession. We were talking about this yesterday with John Kaminsky, and I commented on the fact that we haven't had very many mainstream news people talking about Iceland, but here is Iceland's president. He explains that how they did it. The government bailed out the people and imprisoned the banksters, the opposite of what America and the rest of Europe did. And, folks, we've got the answer. The banksters aren't as powerful as they thought they were, as they think they are, If they had, we'd still be under the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Syrian Empire.
Yeah, somebody's empire. Somebody's always been calling the shots all down through history, Clayton. And it's only the few people who do that. And, even little Napoleon, who's only 5 foot tall. It doesn't matter how big you are, it's how big a consideration you got for what you want to do. And it's always been just the few that are ruling the masses. And it's amazing to me how the masses allow this to go on. Because nowadays we've got like at least 144,000 of us here, and I've got the feeling they're in instrumental positions right now in this country and in the world as well. And so this is the time. And
well, now what I've said here, David, what I've said here is that we have to be able to fight evil, to oppose evil without becoming evil.
Right, in our own minds. In our own minds, we each have to do that.
Well, I do that. It's like what we're doing right now. We are putting out the information.
Right,
We are trying to inform people,
right. And
and
we're doing it in a concise and a positive fashion too. We're not belly aching, and we're not bad mouthing anybody, so to speak. We're just trying to let everybody know exactly what's really going on.
this this is true, and I appreciate. That's why I supported you when you were running for president, wanting to run for president. I've gone through this. I've gone through this, and I know everything I'm telling you folks today is telling you how they control you, how they use you, and but we can beat this. We are making progress. I wrote a book about marijuana being legal in this country in 46 states, and it is legal today in 2 states, and it's legal in with certain controls in another 16 states.
Well, you know, Clayton, too, as this marijuana issue becomes embedded with time in the different states, they're never going to change it. They know they have to take over now militarily before they can get rid of the marijuana policies or the marijuana, growers or the doctor's orders or any of that. They realize this. That once it got started, that you can't stop it. So I think by the next election we're going to have closer to 40 states smoking pot than we do right now.
Well, you know what? I pointed out to people back in the '60s, we were smoking pot, we were getting high, we were having a good time, and we stopped the war. We stopped the war. We stopped it cold in its tracks. We still did some things wrong. We got to learn. We can't be a bad mouthing our troops coming back. There are veterans. We got to support them. We got to stay with them. We got to do
Right.
that.
Well, what it is we got to sit down and smoke this with each other. All races, all colors, all people have got to sit down and smoke that peace pipe and then talk about what's really important to them. And that's the way to work. And not having a beer or a cigarette or a crack or a Coke or whatever. That doesn't do a damn thing for you. But if you smoke a peace pipe with somebody, you can talk and talk seriously. And that's what I like to do.
Now, let me say this again. I just got an asshole on here on the chat room. He who cannot be named. Anne Rand's real name is Anne Rosenbaum. She's a Jewish. Like that makes her information invalid. Like Aaron Russo was a Jew, and that makes his information invalid. Come on, folks. Listen, let's not be stupid about this. Let's not be a racist like they complain that we are. I want to judge people if they're Jews and they're banksters and they've stolen and given atomic weapons to other Jews in Israel or Russia or Saudi Arabia. Then they should be hanged and they should be executed after a fair trial. You know, if Anne Rand did some good work, she told you the truth, the government, come on. You know, so you want to, don't bring that shit in my room. Well, how many people have been incarcerated for pot? We have 40 million people that have been arrested. I will get you more exact figures from no death from pot, from smoking pot. You know, you get more deaths from sex than somebody had a heart attack screwing somebody. But nobody's died from smoking marijuana. It's illegal because they can't control it. You can grow it in your backyard. You can grow it in your house. You can go, so they got to figure out a way to make you pay because you're not drinking the booze, you're not taking the prescription drugs with a 200,000% markup. Quit being, they have really refined the art of slavery to the point that the slaves don't know they're slaves. I'm not a slave. I go out and get my pickup and go to the bar and get a beer. I'm not a slave. You're an economic slave, you dumb motherfucker.
Yes, they are. But the most thing about it,
wait a minute. I don't know. Are there some Judeo-Christians out there like the Rabbi Ted that doesn't like my fucking language? Fuck you. How about that?
at least here on the internet, we're all invited.
I don't care. Yeah, the FCC can take it, stick it up their ass. How about that? That's a communist group. That's a communist organization. Your government is communist run, and I am one of those rebels that they don't want you to listen to, that they want to try to demonize, that they and so you know what you ought to be doing, folks. You know, hey, let's see. We've got some predecessors here, like Lenny Bruce. Whoa, he was a Jew too, and but he could use foul language and get away from it. Come on, bro. I am a free American. I am the free American. Nobody tells me what to say. Nobody tells me what language I can use. Nobody tells me where I can go and where I can go. And you know, I'm a free American, and I don't want to be alone out here, folks. I want you to be a free American too. I want you to have that mindset. I want you to look in the eye of your government officials and say, is that good for us as a people? Is that good for us as a Texan? Is that good for us as somebody that lives in Austin? Is that good for us? Is that a good thing, or is this a communist plot? Are you a communist? Who's the communist that wrote the zoning law to try to come out and tell farmers and ranchers who've been here for 100 and 200 years on their property what they can do on their own land, on their own property? And folks, what I told you about Liberty Village, it's not I'm not talking about a commune. I'm talking about you going out and communicating with your neighbors and putting up some of these little pyramids in the yard so you don't have so many chemtrails over you. It'll put up a little force field over you that'll keep you free and break up those chemtrails, the aluminum and the barium and the iron that they're putting in it. It's not good for your plants. It's not good for your plants, but it might reflect or slow down the sun heating up. It ain't nothing. It ain't cow sparking that's causing global warming. It's the fact that we're passing through a dust cloud in the Milky Way right now. The sun's getting a little bit more fuel, and it's heating up, going from yellow to white. Look at it.
Well, Clayton, I wanted to thank you today for having me on your show, and once again, thank you for backing me in this last election process. And I know you got a lot of videos that had me on several times, and I want to thank you for that. And just thank you for what you do here. Just listening to it for the last couple of minutes made me realize that Alex Jones is nothing but a wannabe. But in fact, he didn't get on the air here until long after you were on. And he's actually, his show is just like, you have all your stamps of professionalism, but he doesn't do it at all. He just talks all around the subject. But you are the king, really, you are the king of the information, man. Look at your chat board line up today, all those black days. This is sitting there listening, because they know this is the place to come, and this is the good information. But thank you so. And once again, my hats off to you.
Yeah, I'm glad Cal corrected that for us. You know, the crop reduction program. Let's tell you what you can grow. We'll pay you not to grow that hemp there. Oh no, we don't have to pay you that. We made that illegal, so you can't grow that. But They can grow it in communist China. 10,000 products made out of hemp, and the hydrogen. Yeah, you can run off water, folks. Yep, they sure can. They sure didn't want you to know that back in the 30s. And they did it back that far. They did it. Tesla had the equipment and the process to charge those buses up, just like they're doing it in the University of Utah now. Folks, there is answers here. There are answers here, but it involves you taking some action, you talking to your neighbors, the Liberty Village you can do in your block. Okay, guys, in this block here, we want you to donate $1,000 here. We're going to buy solar units, make solar units for every house, so we'll make you a little bit more self-sufficient. We're going to put wind generators and kick the neighborhood association out of our block. One block, start on one block. Put groceries, food in your backyard, and you don't have to till it up, you don't have to dig it. All you got to do is put wood chips down and plant the seeds, water it, and
exactly.
It will make it. You can turn your whole backyard into something that'll feed your family for the rest of their life if they live there.
Right.
Put the three-bedroom house. Put the three-bedroom house. Let's take a page out of the Mexican's handbook and keep your children home. Teach them that this is going to be their home when you're gone, and so they need to start taking care of it now. And put that garden in the backyard so their children can have fresh vegetables just like my grandmother used to make for me in that little house next door to the Methodist church where my grandfather preached. Folks, you've got the answers in front of you. The solar, the wind, use what God gave you. God gave you that. And take these communists. Now, you can smoke pot now in Colorado without going to jail, but you can't save water off of your roof, or they can put you in jail. All right? Come on, folks. Go to freeamerican.com. I'm going to be redoing the Liberty Villages. I need some help. I need some support. I've got the books. I got the tapes. I told you 10 years ago what FEMA was going to become and the true face of FEMA, and they're doing that. Mexican troops are on their way to help. Oh, we brought in Mexican troops to help in New York. So you got foreign troops in the streets right now. What's that?
Can they speak English?
Oh, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they teach them how to speak English.
That's good, because the people that take care of can't speak Spanish.
But they're also teaching the Chinese how to speak English. So all the UN, it's called a rapid strike force, and the UN could bring them in. Anytime.
Yep, they sure can. And they do exactly what they're told, because they're all dummies. They're all Indians.
And David Kaas is up on there. His links are up to it. You can go to YouTube and watch it, and this will be up on YouTube in just a few minutes here. So,
thank you once again.
Thank you. I sure appreciate you listening.
Have a great day, Clarence.